You're about to watch 10 ships go down, not metaphorically, literally sink to the bottom of the ocean. Some sank because their captains made terrible decisions. Some sank because nature is absolutely terrifying. And some sank because people thought, yeah, that'll hold up fine. It didn't. From a luxury cruise ship that hit a reef at full speed to a cargo vessel caught in a hurricane's eye, these are the worst maritime decisions ever made. The Explorer, Antarctica's trap. Let's start with the Explorer. This was supposed to be the ship for polar cruising. Built in 1969 specifically to handle Antarctic ice. Reinforced hull, powerful engines. It was basically the tank of cruise ships. For nearly 4 decades, it worked perfectly. Then in 2007, the captain decided to punch through an ice field at night. Now, you'd think a ship designed for ice could handle ice, right? Wrong. The crew hit something big and dense beneath the surface. Consolidated ice that's basically harder than rock. Within hours, the ship was taking on water so fast that the engines failed. The flooding wouldn't stop. They evacuated 154 people into open-top lifeboats in one of the coldest places on Earth during a freezing night. Here's where it gets wild. The rescue ships arrived just in time. Another hour and everyone would have died from hypothermia. The Explorer sank fully submerged the next day. The captain? Blamed for entering the ice field in the dark, without proper training. Confidence kills. And apparently so does ice. The Admiral Nakhimov, a dance that ended badly August 31st, 1986, the Black Sea. The Admiral Nakhimov is packed with over 1,200 passengers and crew. People are dancing on deck. There's music, there's wine. It's a perfect evening. Meanwhile, a freighter called the Pota Vasev is heading toward them. They radio each other. The freighter agrees to yield. The cruise ship agrees to pass. Simple maritime traffic management, right? Except nobody actually changes course. Both captains are convinced the other guy will move. Both captains are completely wrong. The officers watch through binoculars as the freighter gets closer and closer and closer, until Captain Chichenko finally realizes, oh no, we're about to hit them. He reverses engines. Doesn't matter. The freighter's bow smashes into the cruise ship's side like a can opener, creating a 900-square-foot hole. But here's the real problem. The Admiral Nakhimov was an old Soviet ship with terrible ventilation, so passengers had left their portholes open for fresh air. As the ship listed onto its side, all those open portholes went underwater and became funnels. The ship filled with water like a bathtub. It went down in 7 minutes. People were sleeping in their bunks when the impact happened. They woke up to water at their feet, with seconds to react. Over 420 people died that night. Families, children, workers on vacation. And it was completely preventable. The captains, both arrested, both sentenced to 15 years. Meanwhile, 64 bodies are still inside the wreck on the seafloor, and families still visit every year at 11:20 p.m. to remember them. The Monarch of the Seas, Captain Complacency, December 15, 1998. The Caribbean, midnight. The Monarch of the Seas is a massive cruise ship, nearly 74,000 tons, modern for the time. The captain has a stomach issue. Seriously, his digestive system is about to cost the ship. Because of the gut problem, the captain leaves the bridge early without properly handing over command. The crew notices the captain is taking a more direct but riskier route around a dangerous reef to make up time, but nobody questions him because he's acting so confident. The officer on watch gets distracted. A passenger complains about noise. A smoke alarm sounds. He's handling the radar, watching the reef, answering the phone, basically doing 4 jobs at once. The crew assumes they're further from the reef than they actually are. At 1:30 a.m., the ship scrapes across the proselyte reef at 12 knots. It tears open a 40-meter hole in the hull. Water pours in. The situation spirals. But then something remarkable happens. The captain makes a brilliant decision. He intentionally grounds the ship on a sandbank in Great Bay. No sinking, no capsizing. Perfect evacuation. All 2,500 people got off safely. Not a single death. The investigation found 11 specific errors by the captain and crew, all traceable to complacency. The captain knew those waters. He'd been there dozens of times. He got cocky, and it almost cost him everything. The crazy part? One watertight door didn't seal properly. If they hadn't beached it, the Monarch would have sunk entirely. They got lucky. The Hans Hedtoft, unseen danger. The Danish passenger cargo liner Hans Hedtoft is on its maiden voyage. It's modern. It's strong. The crew is experienced. Then it hits an iceberg in a storm. You'd think a modern ship could handle an iceberg, right? The Titanic proved otherwise 47 years earlier, but apparently that lesson took a while to stick. The iceberg rips open the Hans Hedtoft's riveted hull. The ship floods. It sinks. And here's the brutal part. There were no survivors. The ship just disappeared with everyone on board. All that was left was a single lifeboat. This happened in 1959. The Titanic sank in 1912. Between those two dates, maritime authorities knew about icebergs. They tracked them, they issued warnings, and yet captains still ran into them. The lesson here? Even modern ships with modern crews can get ambushed by something ancient and cold floating in dark water. Ice doesn't care about your confidence or your credentials. The SS Berlin Admiral Nakhimov, a ship's second life. Here's where it gets weird. Germany, post-World War I, Germany needs ships, so they build the SS Berlin, a solid, dependable ocean liner. Not fancy, just functional. It works for years. Then World War II happens. The Nazi regime takes the Berlin and uses it as a hospital ship. For 6 years, it transports wounded soldiers through European waters. Then 1945 comes. Germany's losing. The Berlin gets sent on Operation Hannibal, one of history's largest sea evacuations. Nearly 1 million civilians and soldiers need to get out. The Berlin is helping transport them, except it hits a mine. Massive explosion. It sinks in shallow water. But the Berlin isn't done yet. The Soviets raise it. Soviet divers patch the holes, pump out the water. It takes 8 years to make it seaworthy again. In 1949, it emerges under a new name, the Admiral Nakhimov, the ship we talked about earlier. So the Berlin served Germany through World War II, got sunk, was resurrected by its enemy, and then got sunk again 37 years later in a collision. This ship got destroyed twice by completely different accidents, separated by decades. If ships could talk, this one would have some stories. The El Faro ignored warnings. September 29, 2015. The SS El Faro departs Jacksonville, Florida, heading to Puerto Rico. It's a cargo ship, routine job. The captain is Michael Davidson, experienced, cautious, well-respected by his crew. But Hurricane Joaquin is forming in the Atlantic. It's getting stronger, fast. Davidson makes a decision. He'll sail around the storm. He's got satellite images. He's got weather software. He'll just go around it. The problem? He's using a simple commercial weather service called Bon Voyage instead of official National Weather Service alerts. Bon Voyage doesn't see what's coming. It doesn't predict that Joaquin will intensify into a Category 4 hurricane. Davidson steams straight into it. The storm hits harder than expected. It's not like anything Davidson has experienced in 30 years at sea. The waves are monstrous. The wind is biblical. The ship starts listing. The engines fail, a death sentence for any cargo ship, because without propulsion, you can't point your bow into the waves. You just get battered from all directions like a toy. Water pours into the cargo holds through failed hatches. The ship lists more. The engineering crew fights to restore power, but it's hopeless. Davidson calls the company. He's panicking now. We have a hull breach. Scuttle blew open during a storm. We have water in 3 holds. We've lost main propulsion. Can I speak with someone? Nobody can help. The wind is too strong for helicopter rescue. The Coast Guard can't reach them. Then the radios go silent. But the ship has a voice recorder. Later, investigators would listen to Davidson's final moments as he struggled to save his crew. Bow is down. Bow powers is down. Get into your rafts. Throw all your rafts into the water. Everybody get off. Get off the ship. Stay together. A crewman called out for help from the flooding bridge. Davidson responded, "I'm not leaving you." Then the recording stopped. All 33 crew members died. All 33. The ship had open-top lifeboats from the 1800s, basically useless in a storm. The hull was rusted and corroded from poor maintenance. The damage control plan was non-existent. The investigation blamed Davidson, but it also blamed the ship's owners for letting the vessels sail in terrible condition, and it blamed the Coast Guard for allowing open-top lifeboats on ships in the modern era. The ship went down at 15,000 feet. Divers found it months later. The voice recorder was the only thing that explained what happened. Not a single body was ever recovered. The Titanic, the obvious one. You knew this was coming. The unsinkable ship. It hit an iceberg because the captain was confident. The ship was going too fast, and apparently icebergs are harder than steel. Ironically, if the ship had hit the iceberg head-on instead of at an angle, the damage would have been contained, and it probably wouldn't have sunk. 1,500 people died. It's the maritime disaster that changed everything about how ships handle emergencies. And yet, the Hans Hedtoft hit an iceberg 47 years later, and the El Faro sank in a storm in 2015. 3 more quick disasters. Operation Hannibal, 1945, the Wilhelm Gustloff was evacuating civilians and soldiers when a Soviet submarine torpedoed it. Over 9,000 people died, more than the Titanic, but almost nobody knows about it because it happened during the war, and nobody was celebrating German losses. The Empress of Ireland, 1914, a Canadian passenger ship collided with another vessel in fog. 1,012 people died in 14 minutes. It's often forgotten because the Titanic sank 2 years earlier and stole all the headlines. The Lusitania, 1915. A German U-boat torpedoed this British ocean liner, killing 1,198 people. It became a symbol of German aggression and helped turn American public opinion toward entering World War I. All three, preventable. All three, forgotten. Here's the pattern I notice. Ships sink because of human error. Not usually because the ship itself fails, but because someone made a bad call. A captain pushed too hard into ice. Another captain ignored warnings from his crew. An owner skipped maintenance. A government allowed unsafe lifeboats to exist. The ocean didn't sink these ships. People did. And the weird part? We haven't stopped making the same mistakes. Modern ships still run aground. Modern captains still ignore weather warnings. Modern companies still cut corners on maintenance. The technology gets better, but human nature stays the same. And human nature, apparently, is to believe we're smarter than the ocean. We're not. The ocean's been here for 4 billion years. Ships have been around for maybe 5,000. And in the last century, we've still managed to send thousands of them to the bottom. The ships are monuments now, silent reminders sitting on the seafloor. And the families of the people who went down with them? They're still waiting for answers that investigations can only partially provide. Next time you hear about a maritime disaster, don't just think about the ship. Think about the captain who made the call. Think about the engineer trying to save the engines. Think about the passenger who thought they'd be home tomorrow but weren't. Because the real disaster isn't that the ship sank. It's that someone had to die for us to learn why it sank. Anyway, there's probably a ship sinking right now that we don't know about yet. And when investigators finally piece together what happened, it'll probably come down to the same reason as always. Someone thought they could beat the ocean. They couldn't.